So it's important how India is being viewed on the global stage, and we have experts from the Center of Eastern Studies, Poland, and we'll speak to these experts and try and get a perspective about how the Russia-Ukraine war has impacted the international order and, in fact, the security situation. The Director General is right here with us, and we'll straight away shoot a question to him. It's been quite a while and the war is still going on. Do you have an assessment about how long will the war actually go on, and what is Russia in the end looking for? Is it exactly looking to win the war, or is there a middle ground for Russia?
Well, I think that, 2 years after the war started, there is no doubt that this war will be long. Ukrainians are very determined to fight for their freedom and to defend their country. But on the other side of the border, on the front, you have Russia, who is also determined to fight to conquer basically Ukraine. So we should understand that this imperialistic colonial war, unprovoked invasion by one country to another country. This unjust war with many civilian casualties. So basically, Ukrainians, they understand that this is existential issue, the existential conflict for them, and they do not have alternative. After almost 2 years of this conflict, they are very tired. There are many, we don't know exactly how many soldiers and civilians actually died in this conflict, but Ukrainians understand that after all these Russian crimes committed in Mariupol, Bucha, and many other places, there is no choice for them just to fight, because we know what is at stake of this conflict is the existence of Ukraine as an independent state, but also life of Ukrainian civilians.
I do understand that, even as we talk about the war, the question really is that has there been increased proximity between China and Russia after the war was waged by Russia, and how much of help is China giving to Russia? And on that count, you assess that China and Russia were dangerously close for India.
Yes, I think the war has deepened the trend that we've seen during the last 20 years, in which Russia and China were getting closer strategically, militarily, economically. But now it's clear that China has become, for Russia, an indispensable ally, because Russia cannot think about continuing the war without major support from China. Just to give you one statistics, the Russian imports from China grew from about 18% before the war to about 40%. In some key categories of goods like semiconductors, chips, microchips, it's much, much higher. We don't know exactly how, but some people say 80%. So economically, China is playing an enabling role, allowing Russia to put its economy on war footing and to continue with the war. And they are doing this quite, they are not naive people. They know what they are doing. This is part of the arrangement that they clearly have. Russia is seen in Beijing as an allied country which attacks the American position in Western Europe, and thus weakening potentially American strategic position. Draws away assets, forces, attention, financial means away from the Pacific to Europe. And in that sense, the war confirms that we now see the emergence of the synergy between the Pacific theater and the European theater. I also should add that we see a certain reciprocity on the Russian part, because lately there was in a joint statement, there was a point about Taiwan, which said that Russia is now promising full support, is fully supporting the use of any means by China to implement its principle of one China policy. It used to be that the Russian side was saying we support one China policy, we don't recognize Taiwan, and so on and so on. But this is the next step, because they are saying they support any means that China uses. It's a diplomatic carte blanche for basically a military operation against Taiwan.
What you're saying, does that really mean that it is a situation where India should see red, or the red line has already been reached? Because India and Russia share historic ties, they've been traditional friends.
I know, but now we are facing a really pivotal moment in world history. All different alliances are shifting, the power balance is shifting. One of the least understood matters among Western observers was the evolution of thinking within the Russian elite. From that point of view, I think that the relationship with China has become so important that the relationship with India, in spite of all the rhetoric, is not the same if you look at it from the Russian perspective. I would venture a bet that if push comes to shove and there is a major conflict, God forbid, major conflict between India and China, the Russians will declare neutrality, at least neutrality, and that would mean they would have to discontinue their military supplies to both sides. In other words, I think that if they have to choose between China and India, they will have no hesitation to choose India, because India has become indispensable strategically for Russia and also indispensable economically. They will have no choice, but this is also comes from their major basic calculation of strategic interests.
So very important, as the expert pointed out, but my last question to you is that if that's the situation that is prevailing, do you see that this war has much far-fetched targets for Russia? Not only winning the Ukrainian war is not about winning just Ukraine, but reaching far out to Central Europe?
Absolutely. This is a mistake to judge the war between Ukraine and Russia just as local conflict. This is not a local conflict from the very beginning. If you also check this Russian document, which was sent a couple of weeks before the full-scale invasion on Ukraine to the NATO countries, Russians are quite clear in their expectations toward the West. So basically, Ukraine is their step number one, but they're number two and number three. So basically, Russia goal is to change the international order in this part of the world. So Ukraine is just a first phase. So we have to understand, and it's something which we are trying to deliver here in New Delhi, that is not a local conflict, but it's a war with a global implications for balance of power, for energy, for food security. So, and obviously there are the two theaters, one in Europe, another in the Pacific, are also closely connected. So therefore, you don't have a neutral China position. China is de facto pro-Russian country trying to pretend to be a neutral country, which is not.
Thank you very much for talking to us. And clearly, as the Polish experts were pointing out, that it's already time that the alarm bells should roll and ring for India as far as this entire war is concerned and the proximity of China and Russia are concerned. With video journalist Pawan, this is Mosmi Singh in Delhi for India Today.